And this has been my kitchen.
Now look at all those ingredients. Nice and simple. What we're going to do is we're going to wrap all of those pork steaks you see over there, and there's a closer version of it. And we're going to take and wrap bacon around our pork steaks. Doesn't that sound good? Well, let's get started. First of all, we need to crack open our steaks. Now, these are the bone-in steaks, so first of all, we're going to need to remove the bones after we get our bacon ready. Okay, so once you get your steaks out, you're going to want to take a very sharp knife. And what you want to do is want to cut that bone right out of there. We don't want any bones about it. But you have to be careful with the types of pork steaks that you get at the stores. Some of the bones may be fragmented. It may have several bone fragments within, so you really want to watch out. So once you remove the bones from our steaks, what we're going to do now is we're going to pre-season our boneless, hopefully boneless, steaks. And definitely watch out for those bone shards. Discard the bones. Now what we're going to do before we take the bacon out is we're going to first of all reach for our seasoning. Oh yes, and I'm using my special blend seasoning. But you can use any season you want to: salt, pepper, paprika, cayenne pepper, whatever you like. I'm using my seasoning, which adds a very nice flavor for your pork and poultry needs. But any seasoning will do. You can add thyme, rosemary, basil, oregano, anything you want. Any of your favorite seasonings, load it up and just cover it nicely with those seasonings. So now what you want to do is want to bunch up your steaks. And with some bacon, what we're going to do is wrap it around the steaks, much like you would wrap a bandage around a wound. We're going to go all the way around with bacon until the entire steak is covered with beautiful strips of pork. Doesn't this look good, folks? Now, what it's going to do in the oven is all of these seasonings and all of these flavors are just going to be trapped right inside. But it's not going to stay there forever, though, unfortunately, because a lot of those seasonings will run out when it becomes juicy. And when you bake these in the oven, your steaks will become very, very juicy. I think the bacon strips have a lot to do with that. But it will still be very flavorful, so don't be afraid to really add the seasonings for flavor. So what we're going to do here is make sure that all of the seams, when you wrap your bacon around your steaks, all the seams are down underneath. So the weight of the pork steaks will hold all that bacon in place. Now what we're going to do is place them onto a covered baking sheet. And we're going to continue on wrapping the rest of our meats. And we're going to speed up the video a little bit so to show you what it looks like in the full covering of, well, now I got to open up the next package of bacon. So this recipe is going to ask for 2 packages of bacon for 4 large pork steaks. Now, you can pork chops in place of these pork steaks, and if you do, then you'll probably only need just 1 package of bacon. But the same logic applies. Season it, then cover it in bacon, much like you would a mummy. Now, I'm not saying that these are going to be mummified steaks, but in a way they are. So, steak mummies. But the proper name for this recipe is bacon-wrapped pork steaks. And of course I had a little trouble struggling with the bone to get the bone out of these ones because as you can see, I'm holding it in a very unusual position just to get through the meat that's holding on that bone. So I really needed to sharpen that knife, and sadly we don't have a hack to get you if you got a dull knife. So anyhow, removing the bones as best as we can. And don't worry if you can't get all of the meat off of the bone. It probably would be best not to get all of the meat off the bone. If there's some meat clinging onto the bone, then that means that some of that bone fragment is going to be with the bone. So now we're going to season both sides of our pork steaks like we did before. Really pour on the seasonings. The flavor will still be there, but the seasonings may run right out with the juices, so just flavor them up as much as you want. And we're going to repeat the process of wrapping bacon around this delicious pork. Oh yes. Tender recipe too. If you're ever worried about your steaks going dry, this will add lots of moisture, make your meat very tender, and the bacon will be good and tender as well. But you control however long you want to cook your bacon. The longer you cook your bacon, the crispier it will be. But don't be surprised if you don't come away with absolute crisp bacon. Now there you have it. That's what it looks like with all of your pork steaks covered with that bacon, just fully wrapped around like bandages. Now what we're going to do here is, we should have done this when we started. Preheat our oven to 350 degrees here. So let me get the camera in position and preheat our oven to 350. There we go. No, that's 355. That's 350. Now, while the oven is preheating, I did mention about a life hack earlier and how to sharpen your blades. Well, we'll take a dull knife like this one here, and we're going to take don't slice yourself. Just test the sharpness of your blade, and you know that it's how sharp it is when you run your finger across the blade, and you can just feel the dullness. Now we're going to take a regular ceramic cup, and what we're going to do in a circular motion is just take the edge of your blade around in a circular motion, or you can take long swipes, just as long as you don't swipe towards yourself, swipe away. And sharp knife facility. Isn't that great? Now we need here some yakety sax. And we're still not quite sharp yet, but we're getting there. This was a very dull knife. So if you have an extremely dull knife, you might want to invest in a knife sharpener, but if you don't have one, like I said, a ceramic cup will do the trick and get it a little bit sharper, but not by much. It won't be as good as using a knife sharpener or feathering tool, but it's good enough if you don't have anything. Now, the oven is ready for our steaks, after much time has gone by. So let's put our steaks into the oven, fully wrapped with the bacon. Doesn't that look beautiful, folks? If you love bacon and you love pork steaks, then you will love this recipe. I'm going to close this up and let them cook at 350 degrees for about 45 minutes to an hour. Now, you can cook it for longer than that if you want crispy bacon, but it's going to take a while. And here's what it looks like after 1 hour of baking. Look at all those juices in there, and those juices are going to help keep your bacon nice and tender. So if you want crispy bacon halfway through the cooking process, you'll want to constantly drain your pork chops and then put them back in the oven and cook the rest of the way for crispier bacon. But if you want it nice and tender, then just leave it alone for the entire hour. That should be fine. And doesn't that look delicious, folks? I really loved this recipe. And if you like bacon and pork steaks, you will too. Alright, so we're going to take our spatula, and the perfect spatula for lifting these steaks up and off. Yeah, I see the one I want. The chef gets the first pickings. So that's the one I'm going to take. There we go. So pop it onto your plate, serve it up with a side of chicken rice, And we also used some pesto noodles, which turned out absolutely delicious. And there you have your presentation. There's the steaks with the rice and the noodles ready to be devoured. And we're going to give it the old taste test right now. And folks, if you've ever wanted a meal that just practically melts in your mouth, this is the way to do it right here. It is nice, tender, juicy, flavorful, succulent, delicious, and in some cases could have bone fragments. So you definitely want to watch out if you get the bone in and you cut the bones out of them, because I must have found about 4 or 5 bone fragments in my steak. No, don't put it on the plate, throw it away. But if you don't mind having a little bone fragment here and there, just watch out for them, then I'd say this is a very good recipe to try at home. It is a winner. It will be a winner to your family and friends. They will all love it, and I'm loving it too. That is a really great flavor, practically melted in your mouth. So, if you want an instant, delicious, gratifying meal, then check this recipe out. Just watch out for them bones. And this has been Cooking with SonicBlu. I am SonicBlu Darkfold, your host. And keep on tuning into this very locality for more recipes coming your way. Now I'm going to go and enjoy the rest of my meal, and hopefully there won't be no bones about it. Now, at least with rice and noodles, you don't have to worry about bones. So anyhow, looks like a good win. I'm going to take my meal, and I'm out of here. Bye for now.